Yes, sir. Welcome back to Real Spit. I'm your host, Spitty. We in this thing. And first of all, I just want to say I appreciate the support so far in the first couple of pods that we dropped. Been getting some good feedback, some really good constructive feedback. So been listening to all of that, been watching, the comments and everything. It's been really dope. So please keep that coming. Let me know if it's some topics, some different things that you want me to talk about, and we'll definitely tap into it. All right, so for our first topic for the day, I want to talk about friendly competition or just competition in general versus copycats. And when I say that, I want you to understand that no matter what idea you have, somebody, especially if it's a good idea, there's going to be somebody else potentially doing, what you're doing. They may have started a little bit before you, they may have already had the idea, or they may follow behind you and try to duplicate your idea. I would say to take that as a form of flattery. There's definitely a difference between being a straight up copycat and bringing competition to the table, but the world is big enough for there to be an idea used on different platforms or in different ways. Like I get calls from partners, I get DMs, when, we see these other platforms using a porch. I get people DMing me like, man, you need to send them a cease and desist. You need to, man, you need to get them up out of here. But at the end of the day, I mean, the porch isn't something that I invented. We've been sitting on porches, we've been, conversing on porches, people been jumping off porches, since forever. I mean, even, I got the actual terminology from the Hot Boys Guerrilla Warfare album. They had a skit called Off the Porch. And then they had multiple skits called On the Porch. And all of them was hella entertaining to me and just made sense with some of the same things that I dealt with and saw in the hood, and and some of the conversations you would hear, in the neighborhood. So the porch isn't something, that I made up, but I would like to say that, me, our platform DGB, we're one of the first platforms to use the porch as the primary location to do our interviews. But there's room for other platforms to, also do that, and we don't have to be mad. I mean, look, Nas had a song where he said, "No idea is original. There's nothing new under the sun. It's not about what you do, but how it's done." That's like one of the realest lines to me, for real, because it's not about what you doing, but it's about how you doing it. It's about what you bringing to the table. Like I have full confidence in what I do because I know that nobody can take away what I got right here. Nobody can take my sauce. Nobody can duplicate what's in my heart and what's, and what's meant for me. So that's why, honestly, I don't get upset or I don't get frustrated when I see, other platforms come out with a porch. You got to look at it like this. And in any neighborhood, you may see on the corner a McDonald's. Right across the street, you're going to see a Burger King. And then right up the street, you're going to see a Wendy's. Each of those restaurants, they all, pun intended, they all have different sauce. Like you go to Wendy's for a double stack. You go to McDonald's for a quarter pounder. You go to Burger King for a Whopper. All of those burgers taste different. They all use different types of sauce. They all have a different vibe. You go to each one for something in particular. Even with gas stations, you rarely see Chevron and not see a Shell gas station right across the street. So you have to understand that in this game, there's gonna be hella competition, and whatever you're doing, whether it's music, whether it's a restaurant, if you're making plates, whatever you may be doing, somebody else is gonna come with that idea, or they may have had the idea and maybe seeing you doing it actually sparked them to want to do what they had originally envisioned trying to do. Shout out to my boy AZ. Shout out to From the Block for Shooters Only. You know, he cultivated a whole new performing experience, with the From the Block performances. And now I'm not gonna lie, when I see these hanging mics, on all these platforms, I'll be like, damn, all right, another hanging mic. But at the end of the day, from the block is from the block. And what they bring to the table is something totally different because nobody can steal bruh sauce. And nobody can, take what he's done historically in the city of Chicago, as well as just several artists, some of our favorite artists that we all know and love. So at the end of the day, even though it's a bunch of hanging mics out here, there's only one from the block. And there's only one platform like that that's as impactful as his is, no matter how many hanging mics it is. So for anybody that's got an idea, I would say don't be discouraged. Take it as flattery when you put something out and you see other people duplicating your idea. Now, there is a difference between, somebody stealing your IP, your intellectual property, or in layman's terms, your idea. There's a difference between that and there just being competition out here. And the world is big enough for competition. And sometimes we need competition to drive us to be more creative, to, switch up how we doing something. But the one thing that you can't do is think that with everything that you're doing, that you're reinventing the wheel. Like there's several clothing lines out. I mean, like somebody made a T-shirt, and you can't be mad that somebody else is, making T-shirts, with slogans on them or whatever it may be. Again, there's a difference between just blatantly stealing somebody's idea and coming in as competition. And I feel like every aspect of life, we see competition. So don't be afraid to put out, something that you want to do, one of your ideas. Don't be discouraged if you see somebody else doing, ideas similar to yours. And then also, I would say, don't hold back. If you have an idea, maybe you procrastinated, maybe you waited too long to launch it. Somebody else, has launched something similar to yours. Don't be discouraged to still push forward with your idea. Make sure that your idea is original, make sure it's authentic, make sure that you bring your sauce to the table. But I would say, if you have an idea, if you got some goals, make sure that you push through and do it, because what you bring it to the table is going to be different from what somebody else is bringing to the table. And that's real spit.